At the end of today's gospel, we hear the parable of the fig tree. This parable includes a detail that will make sense to any gardener. If a tree or plant is not productive, it may benefit from having its roots stirred up and a little manure applied. In the same way, if we have stopped producing and growing morally, we may need to examine our root motives, untangle our lives from dead habits and bad influences. Prayer is the time to stir up roots. Prayer is effective. It changes us. It guides us. It puts us more in touch with our Christian values and gives us strength to live these values. The readings today emphasize the need to act right away. Moses is not invited to mull over God's request and to make some kind of counter-offer. Jesus warns his listeners not to assume that there will always be time to repent. God will provide the help we need to do what God asks us to do. What do I mean? Well, in our first reading, Moses objected that he was not a good public speaker. So God responded by promising to send Aaron to assist him. In the gospel, Jesus cautions against thinking that all suffering is punishment for sin. The Galileans killed by Pilate were not more guilty than others. The men killed by the tower that fell in Siloam were not marked out for punishment. This parish has catechumens preparing for baptism and candidates getting ready to be received into full communion with the Catholic Church. They are preparing to live more fully in God's truth about who they are. Their readiness to live in the full truth ought to encourage us to take the next step that God indicates for us. Now, the truth is that we all have drawn back from what God has asked of us. We have all feared that God's requests would crush us. We couldn't handle it. Maybe that is why we haven't participated in a ministry or committed financially. In fact, it is the alternatives that we have accepted that have crushed us. When we are completely honest with ourselves, we can always identify some things that we need to start doing and other things that we need to stop doing. For example, how do we use our time, our money? Do we say that certain people or things are our priorities and then act in a way that contradicts such assertions? God's truth about us never leaves us where the truth found us. It leads us to the next step, as God in the burning bush led Moses to the next step. The truth of the matter is that God is more present to us in the Eucharist than God was present to Moses in the burning bush. Are we ready to trust God and take the next step on our faith journey?